At the edge of known space, where navigation charts dissolved into uncertainty, a lone vessel drifted in absolute silence. It did not shine. It did not call for help. It simply existed, battered and scarred, as if refusing to accept that time itself had passed judgment on it. By every known calculation of the United Galactic Concord, the ship should have fallen apart centuries ago. Captain Alara of the Zarathians stood on the bridge of the Stellar Harmony, watching the hologram rotate slowly. The ship's hull was thick, ugly, and brutally practical. No aesthetic curves, no self-repairing alloys, no elegance. It was built to survive, not to impress. That design is obsolete, Alara said. It shouldn't still be intact. Science Officer Crix adjusted his instruments, mandibles clicking softly. Human origin. Pre-Concord construction. Estimated age, 1200 standard cycles. The word human carried no weight in modern space. Humans were history, a species remembered for ambition without patience, courage without restraint. Most believed they had destroyed themselves long before the Concord unified the stars. Scan the interior, Alara ordered. The hologram shifted. Dead corridors. Frozen living quarters. Silent engines. A tomb drifting endlessly. Then the scan stopped. One active cryogenic pod, Crix said carefully. Life signs detected. Weak, but stable. Silence fell across the bridge. An extinct species was not supposed to be alive. Against protocol, tractor beams were engaged. As the ancient vessel was slowly drawn closer, subtle stress fractures appeared along its hull, not from weakness, but resistance. As if the ship itself did not wish to release what it carried. Deep inside the derelict, frost clung tightly to a single cryopod. Within it lay a human male, scarred and broad-shouldered, preserved by cold and time. His name, barely readable in corrupted logs, was simple, Marcus Hale. And without realizing it, the Concord took its first step toward a truth it was not ready to face. The revival chamber aboard the Stellar Harmony glowed with layered containment fields, each one designed to restrain creatures far stronger than most Concord citizens. Scientists gathered behind transparent barriers, their expressions a careful mix of curiosity and caution. To them, the cryopod at the center was not a coffin. It was a museum display that had inexplicably begun to breathe. Primitive cryogenic technology, murmured a Volari analyst. I am surprised it still functions. The thaw sequence initiated with a low mechanical hum. Ice fractured across the pod's surface, releasing clouds of vapor that rolled across the floor. Systems older than most civilizations struggled, then stabilized. Inside, the human's chest rose sharply. Marcus Hale inhaled as if dragged from deep water, his body jerking awake with violent urgency. In one smooth motion, he sat upright, eyes open and focused. Status, he rasped. The word echoed through the chamber. Captain Alara activated the translator. You are aboard a vessel of the United Galactic Concord. You have been in cryogenic suspension for approximately 1200 cycles. Marcus blinked once. The information settled quickly. 1200, he muttered. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a dry, restrained sound. Guess the mission's overdue. The scientist stiffened. Confusion, panic, or shock had been expected. Humor had not. Medical drones swarmed him, scanning bone density, muscle mass, neural activity. No augmentations, reported the Volari. Entirely organic. Marcus noticed the containment field then, his gaze tracing its edges. So, he said calmly, am I a guest or a problem? Alara did not answer immediately. Already, the relic was asking the wrong questions. The Concord wasted no time deciding what the human was. Marcus stood within the containment field as holographic displays flickered to life around him. Tests followed in rapid succession, logic matrices, spatial reasoning challenges, predictive models of unfamiliar star systems. The Concord believed intelligence could be measured quickly, cleanly, and conclusively. Marcus treated each test the same way. Calm, focused, patient. That orbital calculation is inefficient, he said at one point, pointing to a rotating star map. You're compensating too late for gravitational drift. The scientists exchanged glances. He lacks sufficient data to make that claim, Crix said sharply. Marcus shrugged. You don't need full data, just patterns. Scan results continued to disturb them. His skeletal density exceeded Concord norms. His musculature showed layers optimized for both endurance and explosive force. Neural feedback loops suggested rapid adaptation under stress. All of this, Crix concluded, without enhancement. Is that bad? Marcus asked. Alara folded her tentacles. Humans have a documented history of instability, violence, self-destruction. Marcus leaned casually against the containment field. You're not wrong. We were messy. He met her gaze. But we survived long enough to matter. The Concord recorded their verdict. Species classification, extinct. Individual status, unstable anomaly. Threat level, moderate to high. Containment protocols were reinforced. Marcus studied the armed guards surrounding him and nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. You've already made up your minds. That certainty would not last. Marcus felt it long before any alarm acknowledged it. The air felt wrong. Too quiet. Too balanced. You're about to have company, he said. Alara turned toward him. Our sensors show no hostile signatures. That's the problem, Marcus replied. Real hunters don't announce themselves. Crix dismissed the warning. You are projecting fear based on outdated instincts. Marcus didn't argue. He simply watched the stars beyond the hull. Seconds later, space folded inward. Shadow collective vessels tore free from Cloak, their biomechanical hulls warping unnaturally as weapons fire erupted without warning. The first volley slammed into the stellar harmony's shields, ripping through layers designed to withstand stellar flares. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms screamed. Consoles exploded. Crew members were thrown from their stations. Multiple hull breaches, someone shouted. Marcus slammed his fist against the containment barrier. That's them. Let me out. Alara hesitated, watching her ship fall apart in real time. We cannot release you, she said. You are untested. Marcus met her eyes through the glass. His voice was steady. Then you're about to lose this ship. Another explosion rocked the deck. The containment field flickered. The Concord's greatest mistake was not waking the human. It was doubting him. The containment field collapsed with a sharp, echoing snap. Marcus didn't wait for permission. He moved. To the Concorde crew, enhanced soldiers were fast. To Marcus, they were hesitant. He crossed the chamber in 3 strides, catching a falling guard before they struck the deck, then ripping a plasma rifle from its mount with practiced ease. Point. Squeeze. Adjust, he muttered, checking the unfamiliar weapon. Yeah, that'll work. The ship lurched again as another shadow collective blast tore through the outer hull. Atmosphere screamed into space. Emergency fields slammed into place just in time. Marcus ran toward the breach. Human, Alara shouted. You will not survive vacuum exposure. Marcus glanced back, already moving. Been worse places. He dove through the smoke-filled corridor, sealing ruptured bulkheads manually where drones failed. When shadow-boarding organisms cut through the hull, Marcus met them head-on, using the environment, gravity shifts, and sheer aggression to his advantage. He didn't fight elegantly. He fought efficiently. By the time Concorde security arrived, the corridor was silent again. Marcus stood alone, breathing hard, alien blood floating in zero gravity around him. Boarding threat neutralized, he said calmly. For the first time, the Concorde saw what humans called experience. Shadow collective drones poured through a secondary breach near engineering, overwhelming Concorde defenses within seconds. Panic rippled across the deck as crew members fell back, weapons failing against adaptive armor. Marcus stepped forward. Fall back behind me, he ordered. They obeyed without thinking. He positioned himself in the narrow corridor, placing explosive charges scavenged from damaged drones along the walls. When the shadows advanced, Marcus triggered them in sequence, not to kill, but to funnel. Now, he whispered. As the corridor collapsed inward, Marcus charged through smoke and debris, using momentum and timing instead of brute force. Each movement forced the enemy into mistakes, overextensions, exposed joints, delayed reactions. The Concorde watched in stunned silence. He's not stronger than them, Crix said quietly. He's deciding faster. Marcus was injured, bleeding, exhausted. He didn't stop. When the final shadow unit fell, the corridor was barely intact. Marcus leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Engineering secure, he reported. Alara stared at the damage. Why do you keep fighting like this? Marcus wiped blood from his brow. Because if I don't hold the line, someone else has to. The Concorde had no cultural equivalent for that answer. In the brief calm that followed, Marcus sat on the deck while medical drones treated his wounds. Concord officers watched him cautiously now, not as an anomaly, but as a variable they did not understand. You could have retreated, Alara said. Preserved yourself. Marcus chuckled softly. That's not how we were built. He looked around at the damaged ship. You optimized for survival of the system. Humans optimized for survival of each other. Crix tilted his head. That philosophy led to your extinction. Marcus met his gaze. No, it led to our sacrifice. Silence followed. Our colonies fell one by one, Marcus continued. Not because we were weak, but because we stayed. We held evacuations. Bought time. Made bad odds a little better for the next group. Alara absorbed the words slowly. You don't measure survival the same way, she realized. Marcus smiled faintly. We measure it by what's left standing when we're gone. The Shadow Collective regrouped beyond sensor range. The Concord began to understand they weren't facing them alone. With Marcus advising, the Concord changed tactics. Instead of defensive formations, they lured shadow vessels into gravitational shear zones. Instead of rigid command chains, they delegated initiative. Marcus didn't command, he suggested. The results were immediate. Shadow ships collided with each other. Boarding attempts failed before completion. What had been chaos became momentum. He anticipates them, Crix whispered. Marcus studied the tactical display. No, I expect them to try and win. When the final Shadow flagship retreated, damaged and bleeding energy signatures, a cheer erupted across the stellar harmony. Marcus slumped into a chair, exhausted. Alara approached him. You saved this vessel. Marcus shook his head. You saved yourselves. I just reminded you how to fight scared. The Concord flagged the engagement as historic, not because they won, but because they learned. In the aftermath, the Concord convened an emergency council. Marcus stood unrestrained now, the containment fields gone. Crix read the updated file aloud. Species, human. Status, not extinct. Threat level, he paused. Reclassified as strategic ally. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Alara faced Marcus. Your people were misjudged. Marcus nodded. Happens. What do humans want? Another counselor asked. Marcus thought for a long moment. A chance, he said. Same as anyone. The Concord archived the moment. For the first time, humanity was no longer a warning in history books. It was a presence. As the stellar harmony resumed its journey, stars stretching back into calm lines of light, Marcus stood at the viewport alone. He had awakened to a galaxy that believed his kind had failed. He had proven otherwise. Alara joined him quietly. The Concord will remember this day. Marcus watched the stars. So will we. Will more humans wake? She asked. Marcus smiled, just a little. We always do. The Concord had believed survival was perfection. Humans showed them it was persistence. Not strength alone. Not intelligence alone. But the refusal to quit when quitting made sense. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars. Milky Way.